name is Deontay Hatter.
My name is Morgan Edwards.
And this is our project, college tuitions between Connecticut and Alabama.
Our topic is the average mean cost for four-year colleges in two different states. We have tested the in-state tuition for each state for Alabama and Connecticut. We researched online the tuition costs, and we are using the two sample t-test method.
Our research question is the mean cost of Connecticut is higher than Alabama.
Our null hypothesis claim Alabama mean tuition cost is equal to Connecticut's cost. Our alternative hypothesis claim is we believe that Alabama is less than Connecticut's tuition. This is what we found out data at bigfuture.collegeboard.com. .org. And this is our data.
That we have collected.
And Connecticut had 25 and Alabama had 32.
And these are all four-year colleges. And then this is in money. This is the cost of 1 year college tuition, not the whole 4 years, but 1 year.
Yeah.
Nice effects.
This is our what we worked everything out. And this right here is incorrect. It's supposed to be that Alabama is less than, not equal to Connecticut. And this is our data. Our T equals 1.755 and our P equals 0.04. And we found out that our alpha was more than our P. And we are interpreting at an alpha of level 0.05, which means that we are 95% confident that our conclusions are correct. When we compare our p-value to our alpha value, our p-value is lower than our alpha value.
Results of calculation. After calculation, you came up with the conclusion that we would reject the null hypothesis that Alabama tuition is equal to Connecticut's tuition. After the calculation, we figured out that Connecticut's tuition is pretty much higher than Alabama's. And the two states' college tuition wasn't very far apart. There's a difference between $2,000 and probably a little bit more. And the only reason Connecticut was higher because they have like two powerhouse colleges in UConn and Yale. And also they have a lot more private colleges, more private schools in Alabama.
And public schools. Alabama, our cost of living is based on a U.S. average of 100, and an amount below 100 means for Alabama is that it's cheaper here to go to school. And overall, Alabama cost of living is 89.9%, which means to live in Alabama is less expensive than the national's regular average.
Our conclusion, we could expand or improve our study by comparing all states, looking at two-year colleges, costs, and supporting more people going to two-year college to do their basic requirements to save money. Finally, we could have also looked at the mean cost for out-of-state students and not just state students.
Okay, excellent. I've got a couple questions for y'all. Obviously, with y'all both being seniors and graduating, tuition costs is probably something that's been on your mind frequently this year. So can you just explain a little bit, like, why does this topic matter to you? Why does it matter to look and see which state has more affordable tuition?
I think it matters because for students who want to go to college, this is an easy way to find out what's your budget plan to how could you afford to go to this college.
Yeah, some students usually want to go away from where they went to high school or things like that. So we just studied you try to study somewhere in the South and somewhere opposite of the South, the North.
Great. And I actually think that, your point about people maybe wanting to leave where they grew up or leave where they went to high school is important to what you're talking about with your conclusions about a way to expand that. So maybe looking at the out-of-state tuition costs, right?
Yeah.
Why did you choose Connecticut? You talked a little bit about this with choosing a school on the East Coast. Why not like New York?
Well, we chose Connecticut because we was trying to find somewhere where the mean cost would be somewhere equal because the number of colleges. Alabama only has 25 four-year colleges, and we was trying to find somewhere was close to the same amount of colleges. And like the difference between our private colleges and their private colleges is like I think they have 6 and we have 3. So that was the main reason we did it, because it was closer to mean cost. That mean cost would be around the same.
Okay. Well, and then also just you had to look up each college cost individually, right?
Yes.
So with Connecticut, you only had 32 that you had to look up. And if you had chosen a state like in New York, you would have had like 150 or so, right? So that it was also probably a time thing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. So when you were doing your Connecticut and your Alabama studies, it included both public and private colleges, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Do you think it would have been important to separate public and private, or do you think it was important to look at both public and private together?
I think it was the same on the 4 years, because that's what we were based off doing. So I didn't think it mattered between private or public schools, but the private schools did play a bigger part in it because they're more expensive.
That's another way we could have possibly expanded our project. Like if we would have separated private from public.
Awesome. And when you were talking, I really want to applaud the initiative that you all took to look up the average cost of living and compare it to the U.S. national average, and evaluate that as a potential causal factor. I noticed that you had the scoring for Alabama at like the 89.90. Do you happen to remember what the Connecticut score was?
The Connecticut score was 129, which is well above the U.S. average, so it's pretty expensive to live up there.
Yeah. So that probably causes like increases.
Increase in college tuition.
Right, because they're having to pay professors more to live there and things like that.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And I guess the last thing I want to ask is, what advice would you give to future classes doing this project?
I just feel like in the future, if you do this project and you trying to do it last minute, do not do surveys. Do something with you already have the information offline, and have a partner. Don't try to do it by yourself.
My advice is do something that you are really interested in, something that you really want to research on, and you put more effort into it.
All right. And actually, I lied. One more last question. What's one thing that you learned about this study that you feel like you can take with you outside, or either the study or this class that you feel like you can take with you outside of Carver?
Well, I just feel like it doesn't matter where you go to school as long as you get your education. Like, what's the point of you moving somewhere new if it's going to cost more? You might as well just stay where you are so it can be the right amount. Like, you can afford it as an individual. And that's about it.
I learned that from the study between the national living costs that Alabama is really below the average, and I think it's something to be looked at.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you all so much for your time.